The Obamacare Repeal bill zombie is back. It is coming back to attempt to strike us and take us down. This time it's going to be proposed by Senators Lindsey, Graham, and Cassidy. It's called the Graham-Cassidy bill. Now we're going to read into this because now it's becoming serious again. It's going to be going through the motions here. And if you guys recall, you had the whole House movement, and then you had the Senate trying to pass it through the budget, through budget reconciliation, or else there'll probably be some filibustering. But here's what the New York Times reads. They say, just when the effort to repeal the Affordable Care Act appeared to be dead, a last-ditch push to obliterate the law could be nearing a showdown vote in the Senate. So what they're going to say is, there's a governor in Arizona named Doug Ducey who has strongly endorsed this latest repeal bill, and they're super close to being able to get a simple majority. So, to my understanding, what this is saying is, in order for it to be able to be passed through a simple majority, it would have to be passed this week through the procedural motions. So, here is what they also go on to say. They say, the leaders of the latest repeal effort, Senators Lindsey Graham of South Carolina and Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, say their drive is gaining momentum, but it is still a long shot. Under their bill, millions could lose coverage. Medicaid would see the same magnitude of cuts that earlier repeal bills extracted, and ensures that in some states would charge higher premiums to people with pre-existing conditions. So, I mean, we've been over this a bunch of times. We talked about the previously failed Obamacare repeal bill on the podcast that we did. It was like a 20-minute podcast just talking all about it. Now, this is what to my understanding, when I analyzed, the crux, the main big chunk of the people that are going to lose health insurance really are Medicaid people. The Medicaid expansion was so effective and just so amazing that millions of people were able to gain health insurance, and in turn it being cheaper for those people. Now that those Medicaid expansions are going to be cut because there will no longer be Medicaid expansions, therefore millions will lose coverage, and it will also repeal a lot of the protections for the people with pre-existing conditions. Now, one of the people who came out as a firm no is Rand Paul. He's came out saying no because it's sort of the rhino argument, the Republican in name only argument. He said on Twitter, keeping 90% of Obamacare is not okay and it's not what we ran on. Conservatives should say no. So John McCain is kind of wishy-washy on it, and he's going to be one of the very important ones. The other two important ones are, of course, Susan Collins of Maine and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, who were the key people to the defeat of the previous Obamacare bill. Now, they say, here's the important part, it says, Mr. Graham and Mr. Cassidy express a sense of urgency. If the Senate does not vote by the end of next week, it will become nearly impossible to repeal the law because the drive to kill the Affordable Care Act will lose the procedural protections that allow it to pass the Senate with a simple majority, rather than the 60 votes that otherwise would be needed. So, these procedural motions, I guess, I don't really know what procedural protections that they're talking about here, but of course 60 votes needed to bring cloture, override a filibuster by the minority party. This would be very scary if it does pass. I don't think that it will. I'm really hoping, and I don't think it will. But if it does, this will be very bad for America because millions of people will lose health insurance. More people will die every year. It will be more expensive for people, and you're going to make it so basically they can price gouge the fuck out of you if you have a pre-existing condition. And this is very horrible, and I felt it was very important to talk about this. Support independent progressive media by leaving a subscription down below. Leave a like and share the video. Help us out on Patreon, or you can donate in other ways. Links are in the description down below. We are fighting Trump tooth and nail, and we will continue to do so with your help.